Listening to Drive with Tom Elliott.
The head of the Dow Chemical Company, its chairman and chief executive, a man called Andrew Liveris, yesterday said that Australian politics was scary in an unprecedented new paradigm. That's a business word that just means it's different to what it used to be, and an embarrassment on the world stage. Two of the chief embarrassers are, of course, Kelly O'Dwyer and Richard Marles. They join us now. Kelly, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tom.
I don't think there's such a thing as an embarrassor. And Richard Marles, hello.
Afternoon, Tom. How are you, Kelly?
Now, so the head of Dow Chemical, I mean, one of the world's bigger companies, that's worth tens of billions of dollars, he says that all we do in Australia is yell at each other, that in fact our politicians, which is you, copy Americans, that you're actually a scary bunch. Is this true? Kelly, you go first.
Well, look, I don't agree with his assessment on that. I think broadly I agree with the point that he is making, which is that in this country we should be able to have rational policy discussions that actually focuses on the policy, the objectives you're trying to achieve, and you should be able to have a rational argument about that,
well,
and a thoughtful and considered argument. Well, you know, why don't we? I think sometimes because, unfortunately, we see puerile personality politics being played, and I think that does undermine our ability to have a sensible and rational policy discussion.
Do you think we're unique?
Do you think we're unique? Look, I don't know that we are unique in that, but I do think it is a problem when I do think the Australian population is, broadly speaking, very educated. I think they can understand an argument, and I think that we undermine our national debate when we don't appeal to their intelligence.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. I think that's we ought to be able to have a rational discussion. I wouldn't take exception actually with anything you've just said. I'm not sure I agree with those comments. I mean, if we're copying America, then presumably America is an embarrassment as well by that standard.
Oh, no, it is. He says that as well.
Oh, does he? Okay. Well, I mean, look, our objective obviously has to be, just as Kelly said, to make sure that the arguments that we have are based on policy, are rational, and I totally agree we need to keep away from personality politics. There is obviously a fair amount of pantomime about politics from time to time, which I know frustrates me, and I'm sure it frustrates Kelly as well.
Like a wicked witch appears and everybody says, "Behind you!"
I don't know. Well, I'll put this proposition. We'll see whether Kelly agrees. I think from time to time, Question Time has a lot of pantomime about it, which, and maybe I might be guilty of this as well, but which I don't think is particularly edifying.
Well, you mean in both ways, in terms of the questions that are asked and some of the sort of stunts that are delivered upon and the responses that you get. Do you think it's both ways?
Yes, I think questions that are asked, the stunts that occur, that, you know, to be completely fair, and there's self-criticism in this, the way in which we kind of interact across the chamber. I mean, and let me say as well, I don't agree with Mark Latham that we should get rid of Question Time. I think the fact that we have Question Time and comparatively so much of it compared to other systems is a good thing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It holds government to account. But I do think that there is a fair amount of pantomime in the way in which we behave in there, and I don't reckon that helps that much.
Well, what sort of things do you do, Richard, in the pantomime sort of
you really want me to engage in the self-criticism?
Look, I feel a bit for Richard here. I feel I must save you a little bit, Richard.
What do you do? I mean, do you make a paper aeroplane and throw it across there?
No, it's not. But there's a lot of. I mean, look, there's obviously interjecting. There's points of order that are taken. And you know, there is some tactic around that, but
you know what though, Richard, I actually think that those who do engage in stunts, and I think that those ministers also who don't actually answer questions, I actually think that the blowback is more on those people. In all truth, because of the point I made before about the intelligence of the Australian people, I actually think, you know, the Australian people have got a very good bulltish detector.
Yes.
And I think that they can see through a stunt, and I think that they can see through somebody who doesn't really want to answer a question.
I agree with that, but can I make? I also I totally agree with that. I think there is. The way the media cycle makes this hard.
It's the media's fault.
No, that's why I was careful in what I said. The media cycle. This is an unusual discussion, in as much as we have the time to have a discussion. So often, what happens is in terms of the 6 o'clock news, or you know, you're picking up a fraction of a moment, and so a lot is attempted to be put into that moment, and I think that promotes the pantomime as well. That's not a criticism of any journalist. It's just the cycle that we're in.
I must say to you both, I write a Saturday opinion column for the Herald Sun, and when I speak to the editor, he's always very concerned about what picture he can put with it. You know, and if it's a picture of a politician, they'll run through every single one until they get just a look where someone is confused or looks a bit sneaky or suspicious, and that's the one they put on. And it's great, you know.
And so we all of us in politics have a rule: never wear a funny hat when you have a photo taken of you.
And also, frankly, you can see the photograph and you can know the tenor and the tone of the story.
Okay, now speaking of the personalities in federal politics, Joe Hockey stepped in a bit of doo-doo the other night when he said that poor people don't really drive cars and therefore wouldn't be affected by his increase in the petrol tax. And it seems to me, Kelly O'Dwyer, that both Christopher Pyne and your dear leader Tony Abbott have chucked him under a bus. They've declined to back him. What's going on? I mean, has Joe Hockey been abandoned by his own party?
Well, certainly he hasn't been abandoned. I mean, I'm not going to get into the commentary on the commentary, but I think Joe's made clear this afternoon that he's apologised for the comments that he made in relation to that. But we're losing sight of really the discussion we ought to be having.
But it was a silly thing to say.
Well, if we want to actually have a genuine discussion about the indexation of excise, then let's talk about that. And let's talk about the reasons why it's going to be indexed and what it actually means, in essence, for the average household. And for the average household, it means, on average, less than a cent a litre. It's basically, for a 50-litre petrol tank, and for the average household, it's about 40 cents a week.
Yeah, but that's every year. I mean,
right?
20
it's
years.
40 cents a week. Yeah. But this is where I think, you do need to be able to have a rational discussion. Why are we doing it? Well, we're doing it because, unfortunately, we do have an issue with the budget where the revenue that we brought in and the budget that's just been delivered is around about $390 billion, and we're spending, so the expenditure is around about $415 billion. And what we do need to do is to invest in national infrastructure that will actually be to the benefit of our nation, help grow and build our nation, and that indexation of excise is going to be going into roads and building national infrastructure.
We'll go to calls in a moment, 96900 693 13 13 32. But Richard, very quickly, when you see a government minister make, a gaffe like the one that Joe Hockey made, do you just sort of punch the air and then think, there, but for the grace of God go I? Or, what runs through your
head? Are you an air puncher, Richard?
Well, I'm not an air puncher. Sometimes I often say, but for the grace of God go I. But look, this was a comment, obviously a silly comment, but one which was just explained how out of touch he is. And we had Peter Dutton come down to Geelong this week telling us all that the $7 co-payment was a great thing. Yes. I mean, again, completely out of touch. Yeah. And the budget emergency here, which justifies this, is one which has a budget in it that's paying $50,000 cheques to millionaires. Don't forget that.
Calls in a moment. It's 17 to 5.
3AW Breakfast.
We're getting some London-style cabs in Melbourne. Evan Simeon, CEO of the London Taxi Company, joins us.
With Ross and John.
The listeners to this program are going to get to choose the colour that the London-style cabs will be. What are the options?
The choice are black, white or silver.
Back Monday morning when you wake up.
The overwhelming victor, and accordingly, the colour of our London-style cabs is...
I see a line of cars and they're all painted black.
3AW 693.
On 9 News, Joe Hockey forced to apologise for comments about the poor. A female strapper bashed on Oaks Day speaks out. Sir Cliff Richard's child abuse scandal and beautiful pictures of a friendly bay humpback. 9 News at 6.
Hi, Gian here. At Lexus of Blackburn, we understand value. In terms of your new Lexus, we know value. We know the peace of mind of a car well purchased, the reassurance of competitive finance and insurance rates, and the fairness of solid trade-in prices. When it comes to your new Lexus, we know you want value. We know value, and that is why everyone loves their Lexus of Blackburn.
Lexus of Blackburn, Melbourne's Lexus specialist, LMCT 10093.
Appian knows you can't rush experience, and you can't buy it.
That's one of the reasons they like to reward it. Now that you're not driving as much, Appian gives you a discount on your comprehensive car insurance with their Drive Less, Pay Less discount.
Well, I spend less time in traffic jams and I get rewarded for it. Wonderful.
So if you're over 50, find out how Appian rewards your experience. Call us on 1350 50 for a chat today.
Eligibility criteria applies. Appian is an authorised representative of AAI Limited, the product issuer. Consider the PDS by calling 1350 50.
5 incredible skincare products and the promise of fine lines, wrinkles and brown spots fading away within 60 days. That's the Nature C promise, or your money back. Call 1-800-147-009 to order the Nature C Pamper Pack, a cleanser, daily moisturiser and an overnight recovery complex for just $99 plus postage. Plus you'll receive a bonus hand and body lotion and a jar of gentle eye gel for free free. Love your skin again. Call 1-800-147-009. That's 1-800-147-009.
I just realised I've been commuting for 12 years. I worked it out. 41 minutes every day, 5 days a week, 48 weeks a year for 12 years. That's 1,872 hours I've been sitting here. 82 days. Phineas Fogg went round the world in less. What am I doing? Playing games on my phone.
Don't waste your commuting time. Just download GoToMeeting from Citrix and you can hold face-to-face meetings wherever you are. Visit gotomeeting.com.au for a free 30-day trial.
Come into Tyre Power and get the power of expert advice.
And get the power of big brands like Toyo, Kumo, Cali and more. Tyre Power. Get the power of Australia's biggest independent. Get the power! Tyrepower.com.au.
In 2014, be part of the rumour file.
The Lexus IS250 luxury valued at $60,950 drive away the Rumour File grand prize. It's got styling that's designed to turn heads.
Only on 3AW Breakfast.
So join the Rumour File every morning, 96900 693 or breakfast at 3aw.com.au.
Every weekday just after 7. The Rumour File. For Lexus of Blackburn, 146 Whitehorse Road.
Victoria 13/3116.
Tom Elliott on Drive.
It is 14 to 5. Killaloe Drive. Richard Miles are with us talking about the theatre, the pantomime of federal politics. Mark, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Look, I was just wondering, do you think there's too many lawyers in politics these days? Wouldn't it be better if we had some people who come from a small business background, who actually knew what a payroll was, actually knew what it was to actually pay superannuation, and had to put the money away to pay the super requirements, and actually run a business, knew the budget. I mean, we've got a debt problem in Australia that a lot of people think we don't have, but it is getting worse every day.
Now, Kelly, you're a lawyer, aren't you?
I am. For my sins, I'm a lawyer. I'm steadily working my way down the Reader's Digest most trusted professions. I did banking as well, and now I'm a parliamentarian. But, Mark, you make a good point, and that is that our parliament should reflect our society. And in the Coalition Party room, when I look around, I see doctors, I see people who have started in small business and grown that business to actually become bigger business. I have seen, people who have been vets, people who have employed quite a large number of people, and people who have, employed their families, and people who are farmers. And that, I think, is the great benefit, for instance, of our Coalition Party room. I don't know your room. I don't know your party room nearly as well, Richard, but I certainly know that there are a lot of people there who've got a very strong trade union background, and I think it is a benefit for people having small business experience, and certainly it's something that we do have.
Well, Richard, what do you think? I mean, quickly. I mean, is your side of politics, is it at least mildly representative of the broader population?
Look, I think we are, but I think that I do agree with the proposition, having a law background as well myself. That
you're a lawyer too.
Yeah, so Mark's asked maybe the right question to the wrong people, but there are lots of lawyers in the parliament, and we do need to be more diverse. So I think that the aspiration that Kelly's just outlined is exactly right. Of course we need business people in the parliament. We also need people who have experience working in businesses and working on shop floors and driving tow trucks, and we've got that in our party room as well.
John Madigan, the one DLP member, is a blacksmith.
He's a blacksmith,
yes.
and
That's right.
Like, he does bring a different perspective.
And Tony Abbott actually managed a cement factory at one point. So,
well, I didn't know.
Doreen, hello.
Yeah, well, I want to say that Abbott the rabbit, that he's going around Holland now and he's making us think that he's a good man, but he's not. But we're not going to forget anything, Abbott the rabbit, because we're not going to vote for you the next election, and all the pensioners should get on buses and we'll have a coup. That's what we'll do to you, rabbit.
All right, thank you, Doreen. Not a fan of the Prime Minister. Dan, hello.
Yes, hello there. I just don't understand, how can Joe Hockey claim that people who don't drive vehicles aren't going to feel this excise? Because there's a flow-on effect. Fuel goes up, transport prices increase. Those increases get passed on to the retailer. They're not going to absorb those costs, so they're going to pass it on to consumer. So it's irrelevant if you drive or not. So how can Joe Hockey say you're not going to feel it?
Kelly?
So what he's saying is that it's effectively 1 cent a litre. and it is to be able to build the national infrastructure that is required in order to help us grow our businesses that actually do require us to have productivity-enhancing infrastructure. I mean, if you look at the East-West Link,
you mean like
the money,
roads?
Yeah, like roads.
Yeah.
I mean, it's money that is going to be going into roads that is vitally needed, that connects communities, that helps businesses, and it's money that we don't have right now because basically we do have an enormous debt problem.
When you do law, do they teach you to say productivity-enhancing infrastructure instead
No, they don't.
I remember someone who was involved in IT referring to something as an air circulation device. I said, "What, you mean a fan?" He said, "Yes."
All right, I'll note that for future time.
So Dan is right. This absolutely will affect everyone, and it's obviously right that poor people drive cars as well, and poor people are going to feel the increase in the petrol excise more. And we shouldn't forget that this was a party which went to the last election promising they were not going to increase taxes, and they've done it in their first budget.
Well, we've done, and why have we done it, Richard?
But you have
why
done it.
have we done it? We have done it. There's no question.
Okay.
We've
Well,
done
so
it.
it is a
right?
broken promise.
No. It is definitely a tax. There's no question. I'm not going to beat around the bush on that. But why have we done it? We have done it because we believe it's important. We haven't abandoned this idea of delivering a surplus. By the way that we're going about our consolidation, if it's going to take till 2023 before we can actually deliver a surplus.
So why have you still got the paid parental leave
What
in
we're
there?
doing
That's
is we're
all
trying to
about
actually
surplus.
reduce the growth of spending, and we are being fought every step of the way in doing that. And I'd love to hear you recommit to a surplus, because unless we do that, we're actually handing on to the next generation a huge problem in terms of debt and the fact that they will not have the same standard of living as you and I will have.
We need to chart a pathway to surplus. We absolutely do that. Do that, but you don't do that. But you do not do that by having a paid parental leave, which is going to pay the $50,000 checks to millionaires, and that's the simple fact of the extent of this budget emergency.
I think there was once a Catholic monk who said, "Dear Lord, please make me pure, but not just yet." And now, look, Daniel Andrews, the leader of the Victorian Labor Party, has been rechristened this week as Dan Andrews. So, Kel and Rich, thanks very much for coming in.
Thanks, Tommy.
I was working out how we shorten time. We can't.
Call's coming up. It's 8 to 5.
Tonight on 7 News, a Malakuta couple, the first Australians identified in the MH17 tragedy. A man killed in a